When we think about the future of sex and porn, we tend to think about Web 3.0 with teledildonics. We tend to think about orgasms at the touch of a button. We tend to think about live streaming, geotagging of sexual activities. And all this sounds pretty sweet, pretty fun. The future of porn in this way looks pretty, pretty sunshine and daffodils. But I have here a very simple question. What about the future of things like Two Girls One Cup and BME Pain Olympics? What would be the future of those bizarre, strange fetishes? My name is Bonni Rambatan, and I'm here to tell you precisely what I think will the future of Pornotopia be. We notice today that the condition of our current cyberspace porn is actually, there are a lot of bizarre things, there are a lot of strange things out there. I mean, when you just go online, surf for porn, it's really, really hard, and it's getting even harder and harder today to find things that are what you would now call vanilla sex. Vanilla sex, like the normal sex without all the crazy, strange fetishes, without the new trends of perversion. It becomes increasingly hard now. It becomes easier when you actually buy magazines or DVDs for those kinds of things, but online, I mean, you either have to pay a lot of money for those kinds of quote-unquote quality porn, or otherwise you'd end up with very bad quality porn, or even strange, right-out bizarre fetish porn. So a good reaction, a good naive reaction to that would be like, oh, okay, so there are very few vanilla porn, they're very hard to find, and then, okay, so these people who are normally attracted to vanilla sex will be just get offline, and then they quit surfing for porn online, and so on. That would be a very sweet thought, that would be a very wonderful, naive thought. But it turns out that the facts aren't exactly that way. The facts are rather different. The facts are, in fact, when people go online, they cannot find normal vanilla porn. What they do is exactly to learn to like these fetishes. 20 years ago, I mean, nobody would have thought that anal sex would have the popularity that it does today. So basically, the thesis, my thesis here on the surface would be that all these technological development of the internet actually pushes people, actually motivates people to have more and more bizarre sex, to explore more and more on their sexuality. So the thesis, if the main thesis of Arse Elektronika is that sex drives technology, my thesis here would be that technology also drives sex, also is actively engaging in the evolution of our sexuality. It's not only that because you show bizarre porn online that you make people attracted to bizarre porn. It's really not that simple, and things couldn't be that simple. But my thesis here would be that the very language of computer, itself motivates people to do cyber sex. And my thesis here would be to explain how the relationship between the progress of these communication technologies with our sexuality, that our sexuality is actually evolving. Now, posthuman and sex, those are two words that don't usually mix together in one sentence. First of all, the posthuman means that, the old Moraveckian dream of downloading your consciousness into computers, into machines, and then living as practically immortals, as floating in cyberspace, as beings floating in cyberspace. And the reaction to that, the common reaction to that, and my reaction to that would be like, floating around in cyberspace, and what do we do in cyberspace? Like maybe sightseeing in cyberspace, and we certainly don't have our bodies, and we couldn't. How could we possibly have sex in cyberspace without our bodies? And to take that further would be the question is, why would anyone want to be immortal if they can't have sex? The idea is basically that the post-human here implies this radical rupture from the body, radical departure of the body. Some would call it the emphasis on Cartesian split here is very, very, very strong. And of course, the reaction to the post-human sex problem I've just mentioned is basically, people would say that basically, okay, so you won't be actually floating around in cyberspace. You would be able to download your consciousness into other bodies, into other machines, and in fact into anything at all. And then you'd be able to fuck as them. So now that does make the idea a lot more interesting, because now we could actually have sex as anything, with and as anything. So the idea is this: what I mean by post-human sex is actually sex with a very contingent body, sex with a body that we choose, sex with an avatar body that could be not only cyber but also biological, technological, robotic, and so on. And we have here all kinds of dreams, all kinds of utopias based on that. I'm sure you're all familiar. I mean, that's the point why we're all here. So yeah, so in my paper, I'd like to explicate some of the underlying theses behind that. The first part of this lecture is called "Could It Be?" And you may recall that it's exactly the same. It has exactly the same title with this year's theme song of Arse Elektronika. Could it be? Well, it is exactly indeed where I got the title from, because here I would like to show you the basics of my theory by looking at the wonderful video that our friends in Monochrome has made. So basically in this video, Could It Be, is the story of two gay subroutines. I mean, how did we come to ever think of gay subroutines, and how did we ever come to visualize the gay subroutines as those square pixels? I hope you're already familiar with the video also, because I'll be here referring to that video. And first of all, yeah, so the basic question would be, why such a signifier? Why would you portray gay subroutines? Of course, here, like, subroutines are here conveyed as very fully sentient beings, sentient sexual beings here. But why would you convey sexual beings as square dots? Why would you use such a signifier? And to put it in a deconstructive way, why, since when do we actually take, can we actually take square pixels as signifiers of sexual subjects? Now this is a very interesting question, because to signify is to abstract, and to abstract is of course to generate a certain kind of general universality of an object that you're abstracting. Say, for example, let's take the case of a face here. The very minimum abstraction of a face that you could still call it a face is basically the familiar one: 2 dots, 1 line. 2 dots, 1 line, whichever way you rotate it, you could always see it as a face. Precisely because you could derive eyes from those 2 dots, and you could derive a mouth from that line. Then anything with 2 dots and 1 line, you could basically call that as a face.